So for most of in general, ang mga organic compounds, when we talk about organic compounds in general, diba, they are said to be hydrocarbon containing compounds. Usually, when you encounter structures of organic compounds, most of the time they contain a hydrogen together with a carbon. Okay, but for most of them, most of the encountered organic compounds, they are said to be organic compounds derivatives. When we say derivatives, ang isang organic compounds is already contained or aside from carbon and hydrogen, na ay addition of another element, usually mga most electronegative atom. Okay, example would be oxygen. Diba? So not all the time, mga itong ma-encountering organic compounds only contains a carbon, hydrogen. But there are, in most cases, they are in derivatives form. No, mga hydrocarbon derivatives ang tawag sa ilahan. Aside from carbon and hydrogen, natin makita nga other elements. Say for instance, the element oxygen, as I've mentioned, no, in addition to carbon and hydrogen, the element oxygen, this is found in many important organic compounds. And a good example of classes of oxygen containing compounds are this, di ba? Si alcohol. It contains oxygen. If you recall, the functional group of alcohol is ROH. So it has oxygen. Another example is phenol. Diba? Yung phenol naman, yung functional group niya, it is still OH, but the OH is directly attached to a carbon in an aryl ring. Okay? Now, these two, alcohol and phenol, they are also known as organic derivatives of water. Okay? Again, they are also classified or also known as organic derivatives of water, in which yung water hydrogen, if you try to compare or contrast these two, alcohol and phenol, towards water, dire lang sila nagkaiba. Okay? So one hydrogen ng water is being replaced by an organic group. Okay? So sa alcohol, let's have first alcohol. One hydrogen from water, as you can see, one hydrogen from water, it is being replaced by an alkyl group. Diba? Yung R group, that could be any alkyl group. When I say alkyl group, I am referring to the aliphatic one, itong open chain. Okay? Then for phenols, okay, yung aryl group, okay, naman ang ga-replace sa isang hydrogen ng water. Okay, that makes them both organic derivatives of water. Okay. Now, aside from alcohols and phenols, let me add also, aside alcohol, phenol, I will also add here, no, another organic derivatives of water, yung ether. If you recall, the functional group of ether, diba, it's ROR. Okay? So, organic derivatives of water din siya, but this time, both hydrogen ng water are being replaced by organic groups. Okay? But we actually have a separate segment, no, to discuss all about ether. So for now, I will just discuss alcohols and phenols first. So right after we finish the reactions of alcohols, we will proceed to ethers. Now, let's continue. Now, this OH group or the hydroxyl, this is also named as hydroxyl. No, kane. Kane siya. These OH group, this is the main functional group of both alcohols and phenol. Okay? Kapag tinanong kayo, what is the functional group of alcohol and phenol? It's the hydroxyl, the OH part. Okay, how do you define functional group? That is the part of an organic molecule where most of the reactions occur. That is why later on, when we encounter the reactions of alcohols, most of the reaction will happen here, okay, on this part of alcohol. Okay, now observe that the bond between oxygen and hydrogen sa OH, okay, yung bond nila, specifically it shows polarity pattern, diba? It is highly polar, no? The bond is highly polar. Why do you think so? Nga highly polar ang bond na to in between oxygen and hydrogen? Because, recall, we consider a bond polar if a most electronegative atom is being bonded to an electron poor atom. Meaning to say, there is unequal sharing of or distribution of electrons here. Wherein yung greater electron density is around oxygen atom as the most electronegative atom. Kasi yung pull, yung attraction of electrons is towards oxygen. Okay? I repeat, yung pull of electrons is going towards oxygen. Kasi it is highly electronegative. Okay, making the oxygen partially negative here and hydrogen as partially positive. So they show polarity pattern here. Highly polar yung bond nito. Now, later on also, when we discuss the reactions, there are reactions sa alcohol under proper condition na yung OH bond, itong OH bond, it can be made up to split. Okay? It can be easily splitted heterolytically. Okay? Para ma-release itong proton. Okay? So, sulat ako ang general reaction. Let's say, for example, you have here, di ba, an alcohol, ROH. That is the general formula of an alcohol, ROH. Okay? There are reactions wherein it could trigger the breaking of the bond between oxygen and hydrogen. That is why easily ma-release yung proton. Okay? Then forming this alkoxide. Okay? So later we will discuss this more sa reaction. Okay? So let's continue. Let's have the classification of alcohols. Alcohols can be classified based on the number of organic groups that is being bonded to the carbon carrying the OH. Okay, so we can classify alcohols, una, based on the number, no, of R groups, okay, being bonded to this carbon carrying the OH. Diba? Yung alcohol or phenol, okay, yung atom that is directly bonded to it sa OH is always carbon, diba? May it be an alkyl group for alcohol or for phenol, may it be an aryl group, carbon man yun na ang iyahang directly attached nga atom. Okay? So, particularly, we can classify them into three: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Again, this is based on the number of R groups bonded to the carbon bearing the OH. So, kanusa nato siya i-classify as primary? Primary alcohol. Okay, primary alcohol if yung carbon, again, itong carbon, ako i-draw again ha, kay Nag-overlap. Primary alcohol siya if this carbon bearing the hydroxyl contains only one R group. The rest are hydrogen. So, kung ako siyang i-illustrate, tingnan siya. So, ito yung carbon bearing the OH. Okay. And as you can see, only one R group is attached to it. Then that's a primary alcohol. The rest, meaning to say, kaninga carbon na pasyay, remaining two bonded hydrogens. Okay. So a specific example, you have this alcohol. Diba? This is the carbon bearing the OH. If you try to count the R group, isa lang ang iyang R group. Okay, itong whole. Then the rest, napa siya'y 2 hydrogen. So this is a primary alcohol. Yung whole compound niya, if you are to classify it, it is a primary alcohol. Secondary alcohol if yung carbon bearing the OH contains already 2 R groups. Okay, it has 2 more R groups. Meaning to say, pila na lang iyang hydrogen, isa na lang. Okay, iyang hydrogen. Duha naman ang iyang R group. Okay. So, specific example, ito yung carbon bearing the OH. Okay, look at the carbon bearing the OH. Ayaw ninyo tanawa tong uban carbon. In order for you to classify the alcohols based on the number of R groups, lantawa pangitaa ang carbon carrying the OH. Okay, that's the time you can classify it if it is primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay, then look at the bonds. Naa siya'y CH3 sa pikas, naa siya'y ethyl. Then, dalawa yung R group. This is a secondary alcohol. Okay, so napa siya'y remaining na isa ka-hydrogen. Then, for tertiary alcohol, the carbon bearing the OH has no more hydrogen. Puro na R group ang naka-attach sa iyaha. Okay, so kuha ni siya ha, mali ni siya, ako siya erase. Edit sa inyuhang na-overlook na siya. I-edit ninyo kay nasubra na. Di ba dapat 4 ra ang bond ni carbon. Okay, so as you can see, na siya'y tulo ka R group. R group could be any alkyl group or cycloalkyl group or aryl group. Okay, as long as carbon ang directly attached to that site, then that is an R group. Okay, so among these 3 classes, only tertiary ang wala na'y hydrogen attached to the carbon bearing the OH. So that is the first classification of alcohols based on the number of R groups bonded to the carbon bearing the OH. The second classification of alcohols is based on the number of OH group. So, imong lang taon ng whole structure ng alcohol, ihapon lang din nimo pila ka bukang OH. So, that is another way to classify alcohol. So, we have monohydric, mono, di ba? Ibig sabihin isa. So, isa lang ka OH. So, katong mga example kaganina nga slide, kato sila tanan, isa lang man ang OH. So, those are monohydric. Okay? So again, this classification is based on the number of OH. You simply count how many OH in the whole structure. Dihydric if dalawa yung OH. Okay, so example, you have this ethylene glycol. Yeah, pag sinabing glycol, na-encounter na ninyo ang glycol nga term. Reaction, oxidation reaction ng alkene. If you try to scan your note, ang glycol, magkatabi yung OH. Okay. Ethylene glycol ito specifically. This is ethylene glycol. Trihydric if tatlo yung OH. Tatlo yung OH present in the whole structure of alcohol. So example, this one is glycerol. Okay, this one is glycerol. Or yung glycerin. I think na-encounter na ninyo na word, glycerin. So that is the structure of glycerin. Then polyhydric Di ba? Pag poly, more than 3. No? Poly na yan. Many, OH. Okay, so example ani ang mga carbohydrates. Okay, example, glucose, fructose, sucrose. If you try to search for their structures, they contain a lot of OH. Okay, so these are the two major ways to classify alcohols. Again, based on the number of R groups, we have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Then this one is, the second one is based on the number of hydroxyl groups in the whole structure of alcohol. So we have mono, di, tri, and polyhedric. This is an example. That is a carbohydrate, no? Okay. So, okay, let's try the following. I will just answer the first, maybe this one, the first 5 and 11, 12, 13, 14. The rest, I will let you answer this. I will transfer this to a Google form. Then this will serve as an assignment. This is classification of alcohol lang, primary, secondary, or tertiary. So recall na to, basta primary, isa lang ang naka-attach nga R group sa carbon carrying the OH. Take note ha, naka-attach dito sa carbon carrying the OH. Dili directly naka-attach sa OH. So please keep that on mind. So number 1, try to look at the carbon carrying the OH. Obvious kaayo nga naa pa siya'y duha ka hydrogen. Type in your answer. What do you think? It is primary, secondary, or tertiary? It is very good. It's primary. Okay. Number 2 is also primary. No, the carbon carrying the OH, napa siya'y duha ka hydrogen. Pwede ka na ang inyong timailhan ha. Kay kung maglibog mo asa ang R group ani. Okay? Kaya ang uban man gyud miskid kani ilang lantawon kani go directly with the carbon carrying the OH. Then usually man gyud kung condensed structure, nagi na siya abay nga H2 or H pa, you can have the presence of hydrogen. No? So kung duha ka hydrogen, meaning to say primary ni siya, kaya ang isa, R group na automatically. So this is the R group, kaning whole nga nasa left side. So this is also primary. Okay, number 3, this is the carbon carrying the OH. So look at the next, no, asa siya bonded. Okay, bonded siya here. And on the other side, this is a carbon. This is also carbon. So tell me, what do you think is the classification? Is it primary, secondary, tertiary? You can type in your answer, ha? Very good. It's secondary. Okay? Imaginary yung hydrogen. Kasi, ang nakikita nyo lang, tatlo lang yung bond dito. Ibig sabihin, imaginary yung hydrogen. Kaya dapat, 4, di ba? Ang most stable number of bonds ng carbon. So, imaginary dira ang hydrogen. Napa siya isa ka-hydrogen. Number 4, very obvious. No? This is the carbon carrying the OH. Obvious kayo na skeletal nga bonds. Those are R groups. Very good. That is tertiary. Okay? What about number 5? This is skeletal na imaginary hydrogen. What do you think? It's primary, secondary, tertiary. Very good. It's primary. Okay, primary. This is the carbon carrying the OH. Isa lang inyong gakakita nga directly bonded to it. Okay? So that is 1 R group. Okay? Therefore, imaginary ang duha ka H group. Okay, so that's primary. Let's have number 11. The carbon carrying the OH, murara ni siya number 3. It is secondary. No? Ayun na ninyo lang tawang uban pa. Nga part, focus lang mo sa carbon carrying the OH. Then lantawa ang mga direct attachment niya. Okay? So duha lang na 1, 2, 2R groups, meaning to say imaginary yang H. That makes it 4 bonds niya for that carbon. Number 12, this is the carbon carrying the OH. What do you think? Primary, secondary, tertiary? It is Very good. Tertiary. Number 13, carbon carrying the OH. Okay? Na lang siya isa ka-R group, then this is very good. Primary. And last, this is the carbon carrying the OH. Obvious kaayo na apa siya'y isa ka hydrogen. Very good. This is secondary. So the rest, 6 to 10, I will transfer this Google form, ha? You will answer this as assignment number 6. Okay, let's have the nomenclature. Okay, let's have the nomenclature this time of alcohols. Okay, so for any naming of organic compounds, okay, take note, the first step is always to find what chain. What do you call that chain? Find always what chain. Very good, the parent chain. When you say the parent chain, this is the longest, the continuous carbon chain. But this time, since we're talking about alcohols, take note, the longest continuous carbon chain must contain the OH. Okay? So, katutanan ninyong na-learn sa alkenes, alkynes, alkanes, dalon to ninyo tanan dire. Naalang gamay nga mga changes. Okay? Say, for example, alcohol naman ni, dapat ang longest chain nga inyong pangitaon containing the OH because we're talking about alcohol. Then after you count the number of the carbon on that parent chain, di ba, you will derive with the parent name. Okay, let's say for example, 5 carbon containing ang longest chain. What is that alkane? What is that alkane kapag 5 carbon containing? What is that alkane? It is pag 5 carbon, it is very good, pentane. So, na-derive na nimo pentane ang pinaka-longest, simply change the ending E of pentane into ol. That becomes pentanol. Okay? Say for example, let's transfer here. For number 1, as you can see, diba? If you are asked to find the longest carbon chain, the parent chain for this alcohol, okay, it is a 5 carbon, no, chain. So kung alkane siya, this is pentane. Okay, but look at the structure. It contains alcohol. Okay, it contains alcohol. Simply change, no, the ending E to ol. Okay, that becomes pentanol. Okay, so that would be the parent name pa ni siya, ha? Parent name. Now, when you identify the parent name, you have to indicate, of course, the position of the functional group. The same with alkene, the same with alkyne. Diba? We always give or indicate location saan makita ang double bond, saan makita ang triple bond. So for alcohol, the same thing. Asa makita nga carbon ang OH. It's in carbon 1. Diba? So that becomes 1 pentanol. This is the old way of naming. Okay? Maybe if mag-study mo og other references, there is a new naming system that is still acceptable, no? Pero para uniform tatanan diri sa akong klase, you follow the old naming system. Okay? Ang new naming system ani, parihara atong sa alkene, di ba? Pentan, before ang ol, nadira ang location sa functional group. Pentan, 1 ol. Pero again, let's follow the old naming system wherein the location of the functional group is cited before the whole parent name. Okay? So again, you find the parent chain. After you find the parent chain, you number the chain beginning at the end kung saan malapit ang OH. Okay? Di ba? Begin numbering at the end kung saan malapit yung OH. So yan yung ginawa natin kanina. Then, syempre, upon numbering, imo nang malocate asa ang OH. So, that becomes 1-pentanol kanina. Next, if ever na substituents, of course, you number the substituents according to their position, okay, on the alkane name. Okay, according to their position on their alkane name. So, how do we identify? Say, for example, parehas lang yun ha kung unsa yung usual nga pag-process sa inyong naming of any organic compound. Same lang nga process. So, diba, this is carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, that is the longest chain. This alcohol has substituent. So, you identify first, no, the substituent present. Then, indicate each locations. Diba, si chloro, nasa carbon 2. So, 2 chloro. What else? Naatay 2 methyl. So, the same lang yun nga process. Again, natay sa carbon 2, natay chloro. Sa carbon 2 also, natay methyl. Asa makita ang alcohol, ang OH sa carbon 1. So, you can now name this. No? Sa man name ani. Alphabetical. 2 chloro, 2 methyl, 1 pentanol. One word. Okay? So, don't forget when writing the organic name, one word, single word lang yun. That's why you have to use hyphen to separate a number and a word. Then comma to separate number to number. So don't forget that. Para one word, single word lang ang name. Okay, next. Okay. Number 4. So, ayun. You can now write the name in one word. So, yun yung ginawa natin. Now, if the compound has more than one OH, dili lang isa, iyang OH, then use the prefixes di, tri, tetra. Again, if ang compound contains more than one OH, that's the time you use prefixes di. So, that becomes diol, diba? Kay ang ato mang pasabot is duha ka OH, no? Then atong indicator sa alcohol is the suffix ol. So kapag dalawa, yung na-detect nyo na OH present in the compound, then that becomes diol, ang iyahang suffix. Kapag tatlo, triol. Kapag apat, tetraol. And take note, since ang prefixes starts with a consonant, it has to be preceded with a vowel. Naalala? Same, ha? Same nga rule. Okay? Dapat preceded. Ang nag-una sa iya nga letter, vowel. Okay? Sige, let's try this example. Number 3. Let's go back with the first. First nga step. Find the parent chain. So, tell me is it the carbon on the left side or carbon on the right side or carbon on the left side ang carbon 1? Is it right or left? Asan dito ang carbon 1? Very good. Right side. Why? Yes, although parehas sila nga sa carbon 1 diretso, nanay OH, but what is the next priority? Substituents. So, inga na. So, inyong gapon tong dalon, ya. Concept, no, in naming. Kung equal ang distance sa functional group, then go to the next priority. Ang next priority is functional group. So this would be carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so parent. What is the parent? 5 man, so pentane. Dalawa man, di ba, pentane. Okay, pentane. Dalawa yung OH. What is the suffix that we have to use? Diol. Nganong wala na ko gi-erase ang E nga ending? Because again, when you use prefixes starting with a consonant, dapat it is preceded with a vowel. Okay? Ako ibalik ha. So this is the parent. Pentane, diol. Okay? And please take note, we have to locate asa ning duha ka OH. Okay? Nasa sa carbon 1 and nasa sa carbon 5. So that becomes 1, 5 pentane diol. Di ka pwede mo ingon og 1,5-dipentane. So imong pasabot duha ka parent nga pentane, so that's wrong. So please be careful in using the prefixes. Ang atong gipasabot ani nga 1,5 duha ka OH. Okay, duha ka OH, duha ka ol. Okay, OH. Wa pa ni nahuman, di pa ni mao ang name kay naa may substituent. Okay? So the whole name would be 2-chloro sumpay 2-methyl sumpay 1,5-pentane diol. Okay? Ano siya? Chloromethyl. Okay, next. So, no problem if duha, tulo, upat. So, kabalo na mo mag-identify. Oh, now, you have to take note this ha. Later na ako example ani. Okay. So, kapag ang OH, take note, kapag ang OH is directly attached to a benzene ring, kaila man tatanon og benzene ring, no? Which do you think is the benzene ring here? Right or left? Right or left? Very good. Right. So please take note ha. Ayaw magkakuan ani. This is cyclohexane. Yung nasa left is an alkane, ay cycloalkane. Kapag na-conjugated double bond, single bond, that is benzene. Now, if you encountered, take note ninyo siya. If you encountered a benzene ring, nga nay direct attachment sa OH, okay, bahalag na apanay methyl dira sa pikas, na ay nitro, na ay chloro, etc. As long as na kayo makita nga OH directly bonded to benzene, that compound is considered already as phenol. Meaning, in naming, dili na kamo name na iyaha as benzene. Okay? Phenol na ang iyang parent name. Okay? Phenol is the parent name. So, ako pasabot, say for example. Oh, wait, ha. Say for example, you encounter this CH3 ni kani benzene also. Naga po CH3 but na OH here. Okay? When you name the first compound, kaning number 1, okay, the parent is still benzene. Benzene raman na, then na ay methyl. So this is just methyl. Sumpay na ha, methyl, then sumpay, benzene. But if you encounter a benzene ring, then na ay direct attachment sa OH, bisin asa pa na nimo makita ang OH, basta diretso siya, direct siya naka-attach sa benzene, automatic the parent name is phenol. Ibig sabihin, this whole is already phenol. Okay? So when you name this is just methyl phenol. Okay? Particularly, ang methyl nasa carbon 2. Nganong carbon 2 si methyl? Okay? Because that carbon carrying the OH, that is always carbon 1. Okay, again, this is a phenol. What is the functional group of phenol? OH. So automatic, that is the priority carbon kanang carrying the OH. So that is carbon 1. This is carbon 2. So you have to name that as 2-methyl phenol. Kay kung mayroon ra kag methyl phenol, asa kaha si methyl. No? But in this case, sa benzene, pwede ra ka mo ingon og methyl benzene. Kay isa ra man ang substituent. Okay? Isa ra man ang substituent. Mamili pa lugar ka asa, maglibog pa lugar ka asa, isa ra, biski asa ra ang methyl ana. Pero kung duha na ka methyl sa benzene, that's the time na agad ni siya location. Dili ka lang ka mo ingon og dimethyl. Di lang ka mo ingon og dimethylbenzene. Dapat naagid ni sa location 1, 2, no? 1, 2 dimethylbenzene or katong prefix nga ortho. Okay? Ortho dimethylbenzene. Okay? Ang methyl nasa ortho position, ang duha ka methyl naka ortho position, adjacent magkatabi. Okay, so please take note this ha, if maka-encounter mo benzene ring na ay direct attachment of OH, that is phenol, automatic phenol. Okay, so i-identify na lang dinin mo ang mga substituents, other substituents. With location, of course, ang mga substituents. Kay carbon 1 naman na diretso. Kung phenol gani, carbon 1 na diretso ang carbon nga na OH. So locate nimo ang other substituents. Sige, later na tay other example ana. Let's have the following before na let's continue this examples first. Kay na ay other cases in naming alcohols. Okay? Naatay cyclic alcohols also. No, kung nay cyclic alkene, cyclic alkyne, cyclic alkene, na tay cyclic alcohol. Kung yung tag cyclic alcohol, you have a cyclic ring, no? Cyclic ring. I'm not saying kuan ha, benzene siya. Cyclic lang yun, as in cycloalkane, then na ay direct attachment sa OH, that is cyclic alcohol. Okay? Now, in naming cyclic alcohol, take note, in naming cyclic alcohol, this carbon, kaninga carbon, bearing the OH, that is always considered number 1. Carbon number 1. Okay? So, di na niyo siya kuan sa inyo bago kay automatic din na kung alcohol, functional group, OH. So, ang priority nato is katong carbon carrying the OH. Okay? So, this is carbon 1. Okay? But, sige, ato i-continue sa carbon 1. So, automatic, tuyok ka, rotate ka kung asa ang next nga duol nga substituent. So, this is carbon 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, karon, when you name this cyclic alcohol as a parent, you don't have to locate the position of the OH. If isa lang ang OH attached to the cyclic alcohol. Again, for cyclic alcohols, okay, in naming the location, kaning one nga location or position of the OH is not anymore cited. If the cyclic alcohol contains only one OH group. Okay? Mura ra gyapon ni siya sa alkene, cycloalkene. Kung mo encounter ka og cycloalkene, dili na nato i-mention asa ang double bond kung isa lang ka double bond sa cycloalkene. Kaya automatic na ara gyud na siya sa carbon 1 always and carbon 2. The same thing with alcohol. Okay? Cyclic. The same thing with cyclic. I'm talking about cyclic alcohol. You don't need to locate this one. So, diba, this is cyclo. Ang alkane name niya is cyclopentane. Diba? That is cyclopentane. But we have to change the E into all because this is a cyclic alcohol. So, that becomes cyclopentanol. Okay? Cyclopentanol. You have a cyclopentane ring nga nay naka-attach nga OH. That is cyclopentanol. Okay? Ang akong gipasabot kanina, dili na ka mag-ingon og 1 cyclopentanol to locate asa si OH. Kay automatic kung mo ingon kag cyclopentanol, naagyud sa carbon 1 ang OH. Okay? Now, so what would be the final name? Ani, locate immediately, identify immediately the substituents. Okay, so this becomes 2-chloro, 2-methyl. Cyclopentanol sumpay. 2-chloro, nara, 2-methyl, then tibuok cyclopentanol. Kanang cyclopentane nga ring, kani siya with an OH. Okay, next. Paano pag dalawa na kani isa ra man ni ang OH? Diba? Paminaw ha, isa ra man ni ka OH, wala na to gilocate. Kay automatic man naagid sa carbon 1 ang OH. Now what if duha na ka OH ang naa sa cyclic ring? That's the time we have to locate asa ang OH. The same with katong cycloalkene. Kung duha na ka double bond, tulo na ka double bond sa cycloalkene, kailangan yun nimo i-locate, maghatag yun kag location asa ang double bond. Okay? So let's try this. So this would be carbon 1, parihara, pwede ka ni ang carbon 1, tuyo ka dire, 2, 3. Parihara imong makuha nga location sa OH, 1 and 3 gihapon. Okay? So ana. So again ha, priority always is the functional group. Mao gina-permi inyo huna-hunaon, functional group ang always nga priority. Let's say for instance, ako siyang i-change lugar. Okay, ana. Let's say, naadi-ari ang isa ka OH. Okay? So, yung ana. So, this time, ang imong buhaton would be, this one would be carbon 1. Okay? 2 and 3. Okay? So, dito gid ka mo tuyok sa asa ang duol functional group gid una. Dili ka pwede ang imuhang carbon 1 is kaning naay daghan substituent. Di ba naay daghan substituent ning carbon 3 supposedly. Naay siya chloro, na siya methyl, but wala may OH dira. Ang ato always nga priority gyud basta alcohol, may it be cyclic or aliphatic open chain, katong carbon nga naay OH. So kanina nato i-name 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the parent is still cyclo. Kung cycloalkene siya, this is still cyclopentane. Pila ka OH? Duha. That's why you use the suffix diol. Wala na nako gi-erase ang ending E. Kasi nga, nagamit ta og prefix starting with a consonant. Okay, unlike here, gi-erase na to ang ending E. Ang suffix nag-start with a vowel. So it must be preceded with a consonant. Baliktaran lang. Okay? So cyclopentane diol, asa makita ang duha ka OH? Nasa carbon 1 and carbon 2. So 1, 2 cyclopentane diol. Then you complete the name. Okay? Via identifying the substituent. So you have here 3 chloro, sumpay, 3-methyl dash 1,2-cyclopentane diol. Okay, so that's the difference. Kung maka-encounter ko og cyclic alcohol nga isa lang ka OH, dili na nimo i-locate asa ang alcohol kay automatic na agyo na siya sa carbon 1. Kapag duha na, okay, that's the time you have to indicate, okay, the location of the OH, no, the functional groups, asa ang duha ka OH or kung tulo, asa ang tulo ka OH. Then identify the substituents. Next, it is also possible that the alcohol may contain double bond. Okay? So, posible gyapon ni. So, nagsagol-sagol na tanan. That's why I really told you, sa pinaka-beginning pa lang, I told you to really understand the concept in naming alkene, alkane, alkene, alkyne. Kay dalon to ninyo tanan inyong na-learn dito diri. Di ninyo masabtan kung dito pa lang wa mo kasabot. Okay, so kung wala pa ninyong to nasabtan, baliki to ninyo gyud. Kay musamot og kalisod ang naming kung moabot ta sa carbonyl containing functional group. Okay, so number 6, as you can see, the alcohol contains a double bond. Diba? So this compound as a whole, this is known as, diba, all. Nasa double bond, so enol. So naka-encounter na mo ani nga word, enol. Again, an alcohol containing a double bond in general, that is enols. No, enol. Okay? So in naming, you still begin at the in numbering pala. In numbering, okay, you still begin at the carbon carrying the OH. Kasi between the two, the higher functional group is the OH. Di ba? Magkaanang betag higher. Ang atong discussion is pa-higher functional group. higher functional group ang OH kaysa sa double bond because of the presence of an electronegative atom oxygen. Okay? So higher functional group siya. Ang carbon carrying the OH will be carbon 1. Then tuyo ka asa makita ang sunod nga priority nga functional group, which is the double bond. So this would be carbon 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now, when you write the name, okay, when you write the name in a word, diba, single word, etong position ng double bond, okay, must be written first. Again, ang position ng double bond must be written first. Nakadumdum mo atong N-ines. Triple bond, alkyne nga compound nga nay presence of double bond. But when we name it, we always first write the location of the double bond. Then next na dayon later on ang location ni triple bond. Same with enol. Based on the, as reflected by the name itself, enol, una nato i-cite ang position ng double bond. Okay? So, ana lang. So, for this example, the parent is, di ba, cyclopentanol. Tama? Again, cyclopentanol kung wala ang double bond. Again, cyclopentanol kung wala ang double bond. But this is already a double bond, so that becomes, naa siya double bond, pentanol. Diba? This is a suffix, no? Pentanol. Nakuha? Pentanol. Okay? So now, we have to locate asa ang double bond. Okay, diri butang, no? Diri butang ang double bond before the location ng double bond. So 2. Cyclopentanol. Asa ang location karon namo ibutang sa alcohol, ma'am? This is a cyclic alcohol. Do we need to locate the position ng carbon carrying the OH kung isa lang ang OH in a cyclic alcohol? No, 'di ba? Ganina, 'di ba? Pag cyclic alcohol, isa lang ang OH, no need to indicate the position of the OH. Okay? Pag duha na tulo, ay ha pa. Okay? So for this number 6, 2-cyclopentanol lang. That's the final name. Okay? Ma'am, what if duha? Sige, maghatag ko example. Butangan ako siya og dugang. So this is, oh sorry. Napay OH din. So this time, malahi na ang atuang numbering. This would be carbon 1 na, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Cyclopentanol. Okay? But this time, this is, wait sa ha, ako erase. Ayan. Okay. So this is cyclopentene. But, take note, you have to use diol already. Tama? Diol. Bakit diol? Duha naman ni ka-OH, no? Duha na ka-OH. Nganong nagbutang kog space dira. Okay? Nganong nagbutang kog space dira na to ibutang ang i-cite ang location ng OH. Okay? So, dere ang carbon 1 and carbon 2 for the location of the 2 OH in the cyclic alcohol. So, muna yung ipasabot sa enol. No? Una din mo i-cite ang location ng double bond na siya sa carbon 3 di ay. This is 3 na. No? 3-cyclopentene. Okay? Again, nasa carbon 3 ang location ng double bond. Nasa carbon 1 and 2 ang location ng dalawang OH. Sa compound nga, 3-cyclopentene, 1,2-diol. Okay? Sige, let's have the open chain. Enol pa rin siya. Enol pa rin but open chain. Basta open chain, always gyud ta hatag og location asa si OH. Kay open chain man siya. Okay? Sige. So this would be carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. So no problem no with finding the longest parent chain in numbering. Memorize na ninyo asa ka mag-una og number. Okay? So diri na ta sa pag-cite sa single word nga name. So the name would be this is 5, so pentenol. Inol man. So diretso na ka pentenol. Ana lang sa miski skeletal lang sa. Okay? Now from this pentenol, okay? Kailangan nato i-locate asa ang double bond. So, nauna-naon din ninyo asa gaibot ang double bond before. Okay, ang parent name. So, ang double bond nasa carbon 2. Asa na ko ibutang ang location ni all. So, iswag dayon ka before ang suffix nga all. So, this is 1 all. 2 penten, 1 all. Okay? Sige. This is an example of a tell me, what is this? A benzene ring with a direct attachment of OH. You can type in your answer. What is this compound? This is an example of very good. This is a phenol. So automatic ang parent is phenol. Again, automatic ang parent is phenol. So muna ni siya. Pag sulat ni mo og phenol, ang imong gipasabot ana kaninang whole compound. Kani nga part kana akong gisirkulan mo na siya ang phenol. So na name na nimo, ang kulang na lang is kani. Wala pa na nimo na identify para mabuo ang yahang name sa organic compound. So phenol, this is carbon 1, 2, carbon 3. So this becomes 3-methyl. Ana lang. Sumpay na ha, one word. 3-phenyl. 3-phenyl na nun. 3-methyl phenol. Okay? So that is how to name. No, dagan kaayog mga cases, condition kung mag-name og alcohol. Pwede alcohol lang nga kanang isa lang ka OH sa open chain. Pwedeng duha ka OH sa open chain, tulo. Pwede ang OH nasa cyclic ring, may it be cycloalkane, any cycloalkane, cyclohexane, then na ay OH. So please know the consideration or factors nga imuhang i-keep in mind. Then we also have kani nga condition pod duha, tulo, okay, ka OH naka-attach sa cyclic no nga compound. Okay? Then we also have an alcohol with a double bond, pwede nasa cyclic ring, pwede sa open chain. Then, kapag naman OH attached directly to a benzene ring, that becomes automatically a, phenol. Okay, that is all about naming. Okay, so for this examples, naa naman ni siya sa inyong handouts, no? So, highlighted naman ang carbon carrying the OH. So, ihapon lang nimo 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is 1 butanol. Kaya ayaw yun kalimot. Gusto, pag open chain gani, kung may kag-open chain nga na, naka-condense, no? Wala kayo makita nga cyclic, dili closed ang chain. Always gina nimo i-locate ang position ni functional group. Okay? Always good. Misking isa ra na. Always. Kung naka-cyclic, kung isa lang dayon ang OH, di na ka mag-indicate. So that's the difference. Okay, so i-take note na ninyo. Okay, what about this one? This is still butanol, but nag-differ lang sa location ng functional group. Paingato di ay. So this is 2 butanol. Sige, dirita sa PICAS. You have 1, 2, 3, or the other way around, parihara gihapon, 1, 2, 3, kung diri ka sa right side magsugod. So this is 1, 2, 3, propane, triol. Okay, propane, tuluman, no? Propane, tolo, ka OH, triol, imong gamiton nga, suffix. Now, what about this one? This is an enol. Particularly, this is cyclohexenol. Tama? Anol. Don't forget the suffix, no, nga imong gamiton. Kay na siya double bond, OH. Okay? Asa man ang double bond? Carbon 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is cyclo. Diri ako siyang gibutangan. I-consider lang gihapon ako, but supposedly dili. Okay? Dili na siya butangan. Kung kamo gusto ninyo butangan, okay ra pod. Consider nato na kay parehara man gihapon. But systematically speaking, kung i-follow gyud ang IUPAC na name, wala na, dili na to i-locate ang isa ka OH present in the cyclic compound. Okay? So this is just to let the student gyud nga ituhop nga kung inol, una gyud i-cite ang location ng double bond, then diri dayon ibutang, no? Before ang all nga suffix, dira ang posisyon ng alcohol. Okay? Sige, diri ta sa PCAS. So this is carbon 1, 2, 3. So sa carbon 2 na ay methyl. So this is 2-methyl, 1-propanol. 2-methyl, 1-propanol. What about this one? For this example, this is not phenol. Dili, ayaw mo diretso pagkuan nga, okay na siya OH, then na siya benzene diri. Look at the attachment of OH. Dili siya direct sa benzene ring. That is not phenol. Okay? This is still an open chain nga alcohol. So this would be carbon 1, 2, 3, saka ka 4. Longest man, ayaw putla. Ayaw putla nga diri ra kataman kay na may kuan na may benzene ring. Sumpay ka 1, 2, 3, saka 4. That is still a chain. Wala na putol. Okay, so this is butanol. 1-butanol. Kung maka-encounter ka og benzene ring as a substituent, take note ninyo, kung benzene as substituent, that becomes, or that is termed as phenyl. Muna yung dumduman. Again, kung maka-encounter kag benzene ring, dili siya ang parent, siya ay isang substituent, phenyl ang term sa iyaha. Phenyl ang term sa benzene ring. So, asa makita ang phenyl? Carbon 3. So, 3-phenyl 1-butanol. What about this one? This is enol. Carbon 1, 2, 3, propanol. Okay? Propanol, you have to locate asa ang double bond, you have to locate asa ang OH. Okay, this is an open chain. Okay? So 2-propen, 1-ol. Okay? What about this one? 1, 2, or you can have ethane diol or 1, 2 ethane diol. So careful gid mo kung gamit na mo og di, tri for the suffixes, di, tri, tetraol, make sure that the preceding letter is a vowel. Okay? Then, don't forget to locate the position of the functional group. Then, this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, this is pentanol. Asa ang all? Nasa carbon 2. Asa ang alcohol, the OH? Nasa carbon 2. So, 2-pentanol na ay substituent sa carbon 3. Bromo. So, this is 3-bromo, 2-pentanol. Okay? So, the rest, I will give it to you, ha? This is already your assignments also in naming because, nilapas na taog 3 minutes. Do you have any question for naming? But, yeah, para next meeting, we'll have the reaction of alcohols already. Naamoy question?